Look at the top right big sky.
What?
Yep. And here's the CD. Oh,
Did you trick me to treat your son? Why can't you love me?
So is that your cornfield just right
I
around
tell him
that
he'll be
tower
fine.
then? Do you have the bean field to the
All the
north?
time.
No, that's,
After the snacks.
so it is
It's
39
not
acres.
snack time.
What's
Yeah,
time is
well,
snack time? I didn't get breakfast, so
Well, whose fault is that?
and I talked to
I was
Shane.
busy doing work.
Once they get the fans and stuff done, and we'll make
Breakfast is anywhere between 7 and 8 o'clock.
kind of help them out.
Usually snack time.
He
All right.
doesn't have snack time until
All right,
2
thank you.
o'clock.
thank you.
You hate your son.
Gonna have you guys.
They do lunch at 11:15, then nap. Then when they wake up, they get snack.
Sure. Like a good idea. Sounds like a great idea.
What?
Nap at 11:15 snack too.
Yeah.
Can't we do that here?
I mean, you could.
Yep, we are, Carrie.
I had, let you know that Lorville would like to change that proposal that we had from $100 per response to $150. Stephanie just, there was a couple of wording changes that Donnie would like instead of, we have it, reported and backup calls reported and qualified to backup calls logged and or affirmed by Calhoun County. You have these for agree to that.
I'm so proud of you. Still like that.
I was just planning.
Yeah.
Does this pertain to Farmville
You don't get
as
that.
well? the same as us?
We will, I mean, if we get this going, then we'll do Farmville. Farmville right now has told me they don't want to be called out for alcohol stuff. But I think to have it so we can use it for the future, we do that. We do the same
So they do
format.
the same thing for them.
This one came with the clipboard, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Are we finding? I didn't know that.
It's not my
We
thing.
didn't know it was an option. No, we don't want to.
Huh? Brandon wouldn't give me his.
No.
I don't trust.
I was reading, that's all I heard, is you don't want.
No, we they just started calling us, there was,
I don't know.
we were never given the option, is what we're saying, we didn't know.
Oh.
I gave him
They
that
don't wanna
one.
go, so.
We're gonna call the next closest, no matter if you sign this or not, and it would be the same for Farmville, we're gonna be called as the next closest if it's in their area. If you guys don't respond, then they'll just keep paging out to the next available. And, this just,
It's cheaper.
if you do respond, gives you
Yep.
money back.
Yeah.
But that's,
Same
I mean,
as
that's
that.
the mutual aid is always works, is the
showing
next
up.
closest, and if they don't come, then we go to the next one, and then the next one.
I think Andy talked about that somebody drove quite a ways in, and they got called off.
Yeah, well, then somebody else took it and they did nothing
So
for
we said it'd be nice if, it's up to you guys, it'd be nice if something got passed down to them before that.
I might have been on that call.
Make a motion to accept that. I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded, that we accept the agenda for the municipality agreement for, Doorville. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
How much?
copy, here's the original, and then there's the copy.
I don't care, I get it back to Don, get it back to him, and he's gonna just sign it, and then if you want to, and then send a copy for quick signature.
Yeah,
So fix it.
EMS advisory, you're up.
The bylaws from Tina had the only suggestions, I put those in, sent it out, asked for more, and no one else had any other suggestions. Just making sure if you do, before we take it back to the advisory to finalize and approve.
I didn't see anything in there, on there.
I think most of the changes were made that we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so they were changed, that's what we put in.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was okay, so we'll set up a meeting to get this formally approved by the advisory.
Okay.
Okay?
Is this like a rush thing, or do you want?
I would like to, we need to have a meeting so that we can start on the educational process and make sure everybody's good to go with that. Okay. Get a plan set out. Okay.
Not hot air in here.
It's warm. You want to talk about the advisory, set about the March motion?
Change the, to amend it.
That was what the advisory said that
Right.
they would like to propose.
So, do they have copies?
I didn't, no, I sent to Luke and Jalen and maybe get back to me, I forgot, so I have not, I wanted to make sure that was finalized.
So, from the March meeting, Jacob's motion, we talked about the last time of amending the wording to it. During our EMS advisory meeting, Luke made the motion to amend the wording from on-call to duty call, and to move the start date until after the regulatory scheduled meeting in November for the EMS Advisory Council. At that time, more data will be available on actual costs after orientation, and also the outcome of the general election vote on the essential service. Eric Wood commented to the vote. If the vote doesn't pass, EMS crew will need to know what changes will be necessary. So that's the recommendation from us. And then we also talked about, setting up the members with all the local cities and trying to get some form of representation. After that, we want to start the educational process. We want to put together a PowerPoint presentation, bring it to the cities, town meetings, present, put on Facebook, try to get it out there on social media. I would like to see us round in the towns at least twice, so that way it gives everyone an opportunity to show up for the educational process of it. So, at this point, we're asking for the amendment to the original motion.
What was the wording you wanted to call?
Do you have a copy of it, Mike, so I can let them see?
Duty
I'll make a
call.
copy for
Duty call.
each of them.
Terry, before the trial started, how did that work at that time?
They went to duty call, which was half their hourly salary or minimum wage, whichever was greatest, from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. If they got called out, then it goes back to duty call, or duty pay. If they do not get 5 hours of sleep during that 8-hour period, the whole 8 hours is paid.
And then, was it every other weekend or every third weekend?
every third weekend was on call. They, with 8 hours of duty pay, guaranteed. Every third weekend, yeah.
So basically then, if we voted down what my motion was, then that's what we'd be going back to at this point, unless there's another motion, right?
This, from what I'm saying is they are asking that the
Yeah.
original, the way they are currently doing stays in effect until July. Or, yeah, till November, sorry, through the end of November.
And the reason for that is, with the new members and all the training, once we start back into a more normal routine with the new members, it'll give us a lot more data to provide back to you guys on the cost savings that we feel is gonna take place.
When you say cost savings, from what we figured out already, it's not even gonna fit in the budget, so how do you think we'll have cost savings?
From the overtime cost of
Yeah.
having to pay people to fill those spots.
I think Carrie, just with your figures, doesn't have all the overtime in it, it's still way over budget.
It is over budget because my budget was for 12 people, not for 14. But to get 2 full crews so that we can guarantee all of this, then, I didn't think I'd get full stuff. I really didn't.
Hard work, Victor.
But, so it wasn't, and it will require amendment if we keep going where we were, but it's not going to have a tremendous amount of overtime like we were doing back in
Yeah,
March.
that shouldn't happen anymore, but still, like I said, even without the overtime in there, we're still way over budget, and that's why I keep saying when it comes to the general fund, I said, I think everybody keeps forgetting that we added on IT, we're paying for that, we got a full-time HR person, we got a full VA person. I said, we're putting on so many things right now for me to keep hitting the general fund, and right now, if we take away that every third weekend, we're gonna be hiring 2 people for every weekend, right?
That's probably the 14 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So technically from what it was before, when we're hiring 2 more people, have you ever figured out what that actually cost us? To take away the on-call on weekends.
Yeah.
That's why I said, I'm trying to get to happy compromise with you guys plus what we're giving. I said, I think everybody forgets what it actually costs us, so you guys don't have every other third weekend at $2.50 with 8 hours of duty time. Because for us to hire 2 more people, you threw that out one other time, it's like almost $180,000.
But the 14 people is
I
so
know.
they don't have the on-call.
Yeah,
But
So these people
if we
don't
stayed
have-
back to the way it was, what I'm getting at, if we added 2 more people now on the weekends to cover that, so that they don't have to do that anymore, that's about $180,000, isn't it?
I-
So you're saying if you went back the way it was, you'd still have to hire 2 more people,
Yeah, we got the 14 now to cover it, but if it went back to where it was,
so the way it was, but you
Before.
still need more people. to
I
cover.
wouldn't need any more, no.
no. But if we went back to what it was, there were 2 people heavy,
We'd have to lay off 2 people.
yeah. That's what I'm saying
Which
right
probably
now.
won't be a problem, but-
That's why I say, just look at the compromise right now. What we're saying is, if we're not having anybody work on weekends, trying to get rid of on-call time for what it actually costs the county, on top of this, so I keep saying, like, 5 or 6 years, we're probably gonna have to start looking at some kind of cut someplace for everything that we've added on. This is why I keep saying that this really bothers me to, when we add more stuff on, a lot more revenue and stuff coming in, so I don't wanna see that down the road.
I think that's why they wanna wait until after the general election. We can get this on the general election and see how it goes.
And that's why I
Use some
said,
of that funds to help pay for that.
if we stay like with what it is now, or not now, with whatever the motion was, then to me, that's something we put on the essential service. We try asking them for that extra pay and stuff out there in the end. I don't want weekends, don't get me wrong, I don't want you guys working on weekends on call, because I wouldn't wanna work for $2.50 either out there. So, I'm just trying to say, just, you guys remember how much that's costing us right now as a county, that eventually, between all those costs, The reason why we have a little bit in our general fund right now was that our fund was gonna be $300,000 in the hole about 10 years ago. We had to make some cuts, had to talk to the Department of Health, they laid off 5 home health care aides that didn't really have much going on. I'd say 300,000, then we went out to the park, they had a trust fund that they were always getting $140,000 from Feathersville in revenue. Their trust fund was building up, they weren't spending any of that money. So we were told they can't keep letting that build up, so that came back to the general fund. So that $400-some thousand is what has increased our fund, where it's growing right now. And now, like I keep saying, with the full-time VA person, full-time HR person, we got a full-time IT person, and now that's IT on top, that's costing us, we're hoping to use ARPA money for, but it's costing us $13,000 a month on top of that. Pretty sure we're way over that 400,000, so I just want everybody to know, this is where I'm coming from, that eventually, that fund balance is not gonna be there anymore, and now we're gonna have to look at cuts. So that's why I said, I'm trying to avoid the cuts down the road, is what I'm shooting for.
And that's what Eric said during the meeting is, let's wait until we see if we get the money, because if we don't get the money, changes are gonna have to
Then it's
happen.
got it.
But I
And
know.
that's what, they don't wanna do the cuts now because they don't,
Well,
We
even,
don't wanna
even
lose
if you
people.
do
We
get the
wanna see
money,
how it
that
works.
doesn't mean that it still it can continue or expand, because whether it's through that way or through this way, it's taxpayer money. And our base of taxpayers is not growing,
no. it's not.
unfortunately.
And that's why I keep saying, if we can give you guys at least a face of what we're gonna try to pay for, then let's ask it. You guys want triple the pay, let's ask them on essential service. I mean, whatever we can come up with, and then that gives us something to talk about. Because I know back in March, after, when that trial basis got extended, I know one of the people made the comment, try it until July 31st. If it's not working, then it's a board's decision. We understand that it can happen again. To me, it'll be the same thing in November. If it doesn't pass, we're still higher, then when we do it, it's not gonna be better at that time. You guys are still gonna be madder heck at us.
Well, but we've already hired, we're full, I
I
don't
know.
have any more to hire. It would be doing what you're doing, you know,
But at that time, we're gonna be so far over budget again, how are you gonna cut back again? Are you gonna go back to
We're gonna
3
have to lay
people again?
off.
And I don't wanna lay people
Well,
off.
if we wanna,
Well,
we
but we're
eventually,
gonna have to lay people off one way or another, if you do it the way you're doing it, we'll probably have to.
No.
well, not if we can get money from the essential
we could
services.
probably go some-
If you get that,
compromise
it'll
in between.
subsidize this whole thing. But the whole point was to try and help Manson up there. We'd like to have a crew up there during the day at least, nothing else, you know?
Exactly,
And,
exactly.
and one
But-
down there, if you got one down there and one up there,
And
you
that's-
cover both ways.
This advisory is to work on the plan, which is why we have to start meetings, so we can have a plan, so that we can put out to the public to see, this is what we wanna do with the money, which includes helping cover the cost of.
So
But if we don't have the people here, we're not gonna be able to cover. So we've got people to cover, other than the third person in Manson, unless we split one of the crews in
Well,
Rocco City, which is a
couldn't-
plan.
Yeah, couldn't
which
they
is
split
what
that for
Mike
now,
suggested.
temporary, kinda, you know, cause you don't need two sitting here all the time, you can have one there during the day,
We could have
come
one
back
there,
here at
and we
night.
could have
if
one
nothing
in
else,
Lake
or one in
City
Lake
with the
City.
on-call crew, you
Yeah.
would have what you want, with two full crews.
And that's the way you would go forward if you left today and we're extending it out to whatever time, you would have a crew in Lake City as soon as it's available to that they can house you.
That's the plan, that's one of the plans that Mike proposed, that we're working on and trying to get out there, but we have to get the bylaws going to make sure that this group is doing what they're doing, and I need to know that I've got the crew to do it.
And I know after that meeting, Dalen, you do a great job with your charts and stuff in there. I wish that those people had had that a little bit in advance.
Yeah.
I did ask them about, did you guys understand that? Jim McKinney is the CFO there. He said, I got it so fast, he said, and looking at it, he said, we didn't have time to really analyze or understand it. And I just kinda ran that by there, how much more it was costing. He's like, all his comment was, hey, we're an advisory board, you guys have to make sure it fits in your budget. That's all he told me, but he just said something like, as I sat down and tried to explain the sheets to him, he's like, okay, he said, now I see how it come together. But you tried doing it, and I'm always nervous doing it, the group, when you did it, I thought a great job trying to explain the chart, but like I said, they didn't quite have enough time to analyze
Right.
or look at it to understand exactly what they're.
It was a fast meeting.
Yeah,
To get, because you guys had said, let's get them to do it, so
Yeah.
let's get it to them and coming up with that chart.
I know that they said something like that they wanted to call it duty call. I'd rather call it sleep time and define what sleep time is, Carrie. That way we know exactly what it is out there. Cause that's, I don't think duty
I
calls
mean, that
even
would-
really listed in the handbook anymore either, is it?
Well, it was
So-
gonna be taken out, but
It's in the classification. I think it does reference duty call.
Does it? Does it say what it
because I
is?
don't think we've ever meant to take that stuff out.
So a regular full-time employee for EMS, regular full-time employee is defined as an employee who is normally scheduled for 2 16-hour hours of duty shift days and 2 8 hours of duty call time per week, so.
Yeah.
Sleep time is more transparent
Yeah,
and defines the intention of that time, but that's to you, I mean, I think it's more transparent. Is it better?
Either way, whether it calls, as long as it's defined in the handbook, adhered to
so that's why when I throw out my motion, I just want you guys, or the amendment or whatever, I just want you guys to understand that I want it to be sleep time, kind of where that part was at, but then I don't want you guys on call on the weekends. I do not want you guys to get $2.50. Now, especially when somebody of you guys drive in, I don't know what you would do sitting up here for $2.50 sitting at the station, so to me so we are gonna be higher, like I said, than every other county around by far, because we're taking that out, because everybody I've ever talked to has on-call time for everybody, except for Fort Dodge Fire, but then you work, I think, is it 12-hour shifts there or something? So you gotta go in more days to get your time in than what you would here.
I
So
will
I
just
just-
put out, Carroll County just sent out an advertisement to Luke looking for, part-time or full-time. They are going to straight shifts. They do have on-call available, but it is not a requirement. And their starting pay is a lot more than ours is.
Yeah, last time I talked to Jamie down there, it was 24 hours, you work 24 hours, then you're 24 hours on
This
call.
was just,
for
the
$4.50.
week of the meeting that we had, he got a text message from them trying to
Yeah.
come on down here, recruit.
And I talked to the guy up at, James up there at Pocahontas, and he also made the comment that, yes, they're gonna try to switch from the 12 to 12s, but then he still has on-call and other things, and you gotta work in the ER for the full 12 hours. I think then you get, don't quote me, I think like 6 hours of duty call that you don't have to be in the ER, and then they have their sleep time or whatever, so.
Yeah, his was really,
He gave me two
Robin
different
would
things
hate
that
us
he was
if we
doing.
did that, because it was like this hourly wage, then 4 hours of this hourly wage, then 2 hours of this hourly wage, and then
Yeah.
8 hours of another.
It all very nice, and, I don't want to do that either, but like I said, just then about everybody around us has call time. Like I said, just remember, we're trying to get rid of the call time. The only time that'll be different than the duty time would be sleep time, basically. So I'll try this and I'll see if I can get a second on it. I would like to amend the March 22nd, 2022 EMS department motion by striking out the words on call and replacing it with the word sleep time. Sleep time is a form of on-call that is currently paid at half the employee's regular hourly wage or minimum wage, whichever is higher. Sleep time becomes duty time for the time involved when paged out for 911 or transport. Because that's what it is, isn't it, Carrie? If they
Same
get
time to
woke
call
up
out.
and they go out, and I'm not defining it from 11 to 7, I want, you work that out. If they get called out at 1 o'clock or something, they get back at 5 o'clock, let them sleep till noon or whatever it is. I mean, let them get their rest. I don't want from 11 to 7, say, hey, it's 7 o'clock, you just went to bed at 5, you gotta get your butts up, you gotta be awake and out there doing rig checks. To me, you work that out and forget the 11 to 7 or whatever, just make sure that they get 8 hours of that time in there, because they also have like at night, kinda like what Pocahontas saying, you should be done with like skills and everything else by like 5 or so, aren't you? So that they got their own time, or, I know that they're at the station, but then they still have family show up till like 11 o'clock at night, right? Yeah, so I said, just work with them, and do what we can, so it,
Work with me on this in a minute. Are you saying this sleep time can be 8 hours anytime in there, or
work with it, cause like, say, the hospital says that they would reimburse us, but they need people early in the morning. Maybe sleep time needs to be a different time to help out there. I mean, maybe, I don't know, things up at Manson or something, but, like I said, you guys work that
Ideally,
out.
it's gotta be 5
Five is-
hours.
five is fine,
uninterrupted.
yeah.
They said periodically you can have interrupted sleep, but not consistently.
Yeah.
They would prefer 5 hours uninterrupted.
I would want them to have
And-
more
but
than
if you
5
don't
hours,
get
if they
5 hours
possibly could get
interrupted,
more than
you're
5
gonna get paid
hours
the
all
whole
the time,
time.
let them have it or something, in my opinion, like I said, if they're out of call at 2 o'clock in the morning, they don't get their 5 hours, at least make sure when they get back, they get 5 hours or something in there. I know it might make it tough on your part, but,
I'm trying
but
to figure out
you
how to
figure
do
out how that
timesheets.
works, but just make it work for them.
Because it's got, your downtime's gotta be in an 8-hour shift.
Yeah.
So they can get 5 hours of sleep from 7 AM to noon, but that downtime is still at a reduced rate till then 3.
Only 8 hours of sleep time, trying to figure that out. If they're still sleeping from 7 in the morning till 10 full rate or whatever, just 8 hours of
I'd say
downtime or,
you don't worry
but
about
if they're
it.
gone,
And it only applies to the 11 to 7. If we get a late call and you get back and you still have to take a nap or whatever, you're
I
still
mean,
on
I just
duty
let them
time.
take naps,
Yeah.
I don't dock their pay for taking naps.
that's what I'm getting at, just
So
let
you're
them
saying
nap
just
so they
for
get
the
the
sake of
rest.
safety, make sure people are rested.
Yeah.
So they got a busy night.
But 11 to 7 is the 8 hours that.
Is the sleep time.
Yeah.
Sleep
But
time
if
on the
they're-
time card, 11 to 7,
Okay.
Yeah,
regardless if it takes.
don't change the time card, just,
A little slide one way or the other.
yeah.
There you go. Yes.
Very good, thank you. Great idea.
And like I said, we'll see how this goes, we'll see how the budget affects, cause as part of our, I don't know if anybody saw the fund balance, but I think there's still, what, $700,000 or so we gotta spend on it, Highway 420. So that fund balance
Yeah.
isn't as good as what it's showing right now, so let's just try to keep working on this, and then, like I say, come November, if it doesn't pass, maybe we can try to look at something again.
So are you changing the wording, but starting it after November, or are you starting it immediately?
It goes back to what the original motions were, when we changed the March one, so it'd start August 1st. But if you don't have enough people to get everybody trained and everything else out there, it only says 2 people in Rockville, then when you're ready, you send them. And when Dave's ready up there with the fire stations, or not fire station, whatever, the ambulance building up there, then we try to send somebody up there. So,
So.
let's just try to work this.
Advisory, it suggested going to November, you're saying no.
No.
So you're gonna start August 1st and you're gonna move people to Lake City.
Yes.
That's all I need.
Any motion that the.
But that's scary, that's if everybody's ready. You got everybody trained.
And I won't have that 5th person on that you wanted in that motion to go to Manson.
That's when everything's ready. So like I said, you have 2 here first, and when you got enough people trained, then do it in Lake City. Then when you got enough people trained or whatever, then hopefully then we can send a person up to Manson.
Is they ready? That's who we're considering.
So in your motion though, the sleep time would be half pay or minimum
Or minimum
wage,
wage.
whatever's greater?
And I'm hoping we got
On the 8
everybody's
hours.
higher than minimum wage. I just wanted to keep that in there so we didn't change that. But it's not, I don't think, I asked if that was defined anywhere, and I don't think Christie had that anywhere, so at least we have it on a record on this.
What is the
It
current?
was from the US Department of Labor, and the Iowa Department of Labor, that they both say minimum wage is the lowest, and that is defined under minimum wage standards. It doesn't specify sleep time, but our half pay or whatever rate of pay would be greater.
What is minimum wage now?
725.
So,
725.
yeah, cause even the driver's half pays higher than minimum wage.
Because when it talks about all that stuff, it talks like you could take out
Not much
dinner
more.
time,
Not much-
supper
it's a
time,
couple
and
more
all
than
that
minimum
stuff.
wage.
You guys are working through all that stuff, keep it in their full pay, I mean, try to do as much of what we can, and like I said, let's see when we go again.
Our lowest is 1590 now.
How do you feel your staff will react? We're trying to work.
Not well.
Not well.
I know, but you're not gonna be able to get.
So, you also gotta, I haven't done the math on it yet, so by going to that duty call, or the sleep time, we had to figure out, we're getting, like me, I'm getting paid $21.20 an hour. I'm gonna be at the station 48 hours a week, I'm getting paid for 32 hours of that, but then my pay gets reduced, so my actual time hourly rate is gonna be not $21.20, it's gonna be less than that at an hourly rate. I'll have to figure out what that is, but I can't go, when someone asks, well, what do you get paid? I get paid $21.20 an hour, but if you do the math, it's gonna be like probably 17 or 18, and don't quote me on that, but it's
When
gonna be
you're working,
reduced.
You're getting $21 an hour, when you're sleeping, you're getting half of that.
Right, but I'm still required to be there. That's what holds some people up, is even though I'm sleeping, you're still there. I mean, is it possible to, I know that people are gonna be upset with the half pay, and I get that we gotta look at the general fund and everything like that, but aren't we trying to strive to be better than other counties and to?
We already are, we're already paying more than other counties.
Not Carroll, but what I'm saying is we want to provide a better service, and we do provide a very good service, even according to the state.
I've talked to Bob about that.
But why are we trying to reduce it so much? Why can't we go to something that in our sleep time that is just still straight pay? I mean, I know that we figured out the numbers on it in the general fund.
For you guys, that sounds really good, but people that talk to us about it, get,
People who,
the taxpayer, the people that talk to us about the situation,
mm-hmm.
don't understand and can't equate to, I'm getting paid this much for sleeping. And now, I'm saying they don't understand exactly how everything is,
But when you go to work, you get paid.
We pay more out of a county budget for the ambulance than the county of Carroll pays for theirs, and they have more people. Is that correct? I think you proposed budget numbers.
But then you have to look at the line items, because not every county has everything out of their EMS
Well,
budget.
and most of the stuff we're just talking about right now is just payroll.
Payroll.
We haven't even got into how much more all that other stuff is gonna cost us, so. The money we're really discussing now is a payroll.
So with this motion, you want it to take effect on August 1st, but then, let's say, we get the essential service money, if, right, is it possibility of changing back, or it increasing?
What you put out to the voters, and that's why I talked to James up there, because I asked him, I said, Pocahontas, who's gonna be in charge of your money? He laughed, he said the supervisors, but he said, by God, he said, we put this motion out there, he used a few other words with that, and he said, we put it out to the supervisors out there, and he said, are the voters, and they vote that they want these things changed for this extra money to go here, he said, they better put that money there. He said, because the voters spoke, and that's how I personally feel. The voters think you guys should all get $30 an hour, and if you put that on essential service, they want that, boom. That's where that extra money's gotta go to. If they want backup people sitting in all these places, they want an ambulance up in Pomeroy, if they vote for that, that's the voters spoke.
Okay.
I mean, cause that, then as extra money doesn't hit our budget, as long as whatever money we raise pays for that stuff.
Pay for that offset
this-
cost.
And
This
this
essential-
might be a way to help sell that too, because your narrative possibly can be with what the Board of Supervisors has approved us. We can't provide you the service that you deserve, so this is why we're asking for this, so we can provide this. I'm just looking at it as a possible selling
But if
point
we
as
go
you
to-
sell the essential service.
If we go to what's been motioned, then you have the very good chance or possibility of people leaving, and then you're not fully staffed, so any of that essential service stuff that we want to do, we still have to find people, and the only way we can do that is we have to keep them or bring people in.
Which are recruitment work.
Dale, and I'm
Retention's
not
not.
100% sure yet, but I know a couple people up Pokey come down here, they pay less when they're figuring their stuff out up there, and they, I think, filled both spots. I know they filled one, but I think they had an interview for the second spot.
For
so
up
I
at
think that
Pokey?
they might be full.
We've had people
Only paying
come.
less.
We've had people come from Pokey because they might get paid less per hour, but if you do the average time of on-call and everything, they work less and they get paid a little bit more. Like, people don't wanna work every other weekend, people don't wanna be on call all night on their days off.
That's what we're compromising right here. We're giving
People
you-
wanna come to work,
give you that
they wanna
much.
get paid, and they wanna go home.
So, I'm telling you, I think it's gonna break the budget down the road anyhow, cause like I said, having 2 extra people out there all the time, plus that's per crew, what's that gonna cost us? Figure, throw that on top of all the other stuff I said we just put on. I got a feeling 5-6 years down the road, our general fund's not gonna take this, we're gonna have to look at, do we cut VA back to half-time again, we cut our Department of Health back? Which departments do we cut if we grow everything out too far? So it's kind of I don't wanna try to get in that position.
Mhm.
I've been there, that was absolutely no fun.
What
We've had the county attorney wants to put on another assistant attorney up there. We told her no because it doesn't fit in the budget. She wanted a death investigator, we told her no. We put on another deputy, but that comes out of a different fund, that comes out of our, rural services. So I said that person was put on, because otherwise that would not fit in our general fund either. So now, if you're talking about going back to, and maybe I did my math wrong, but you're talking another $70,000 if you go up to like 3/4 pay. But I'm also looking at, like, remember, we take away weekends, that's almost $170,000. If the motion totally died, went clear back to how it was for the trial, we're still throwing in $180,000 or so per crew to cover on weekends, so you guys don't have it on call. So you guys are, the only time that you're not full pay is when you're sleeping. And I'm hoping that that's a good compromise, that you guys accept that.
Yeah, you're saying the weekends will be duty pay with sleep time at 11 p.m.
It'd
So
be the
we're-
same.
We are a
Same.
24/7 service.
Yeah, so we have,
24/5 service like we were before.
yeah,
That is a very reasonable compromise.
I think it's very expensive on this side, but like I said, I want that to work, and if we got to, I wanna try to cut some other
I
places.
wouldn't want to be sitting in one of those 3 chairs. I know how hard you guys are working, and I definitely appreciate it.
So, you guys are the new people, you're the ones making the least amount of money, what's gonna happen?
I was recruited on the trial basis, and I don't know, it feels like I was lied to, because a year later, my pay's getting cut.
What did you start off saying though? You were recruited on a trial basis.
I wasn't aware that it was a trial
You
basis.
weren't told us?
I was told that we
That's
were getting
not
paid
on
this.
us.
No, you were told that this was what it is currently and it could change.
Right. Essentially a trial time period.
But after a year, it didn't seem like it was a trial.
So, did we ever figure out the numbers from going to what we were paid to the trial basis pay?
People are getting
Like-
paid more now. than they were
Carrie,
before.
what you just said, after a year, it didn't seem like that. Wasn't a full year, because this is trying to change in March. Now we take this clear out to November, is it gonna be that much stronger, firmly entrenched, that this is what it is? That's why I'm saying, taking it out to the end of November, me won't fly.
But the thing is, the trial was put into place to try to recruit, and it did.
Recruit and stay within the budget, and it did, it recruited, but it didn't
Well,
stay
we
within
knew
the
the budget
budget.
was gonna have to go up because it wasn't budgeted that at the beginning of it.
The budget got corrupted because we were not fully staffed.
Staff, that really blew it up, that two
That's
hundred
what-
something
that's
thousand.
what- so-
Yeah, but
let-
even
let's
the
separate
overtime,
those two
the
things.
overtime, yes, that made a difference, but if we would've been full staff, we still would've been over budget. Not as much as we were with.
Definitely not as
Yeah.
much.
And you wouldn't have had to work at like 3 people, so you worked as hard as.
3.5.
3.5
I kept
people.
track. I worked
Okay.
the amount of 3.5 people.
Okay.
I don't know how you can do that.
That's crazy.
So, but from the 2021, if we wouldn't have changed, and that year would have carried out, what was the amount of increase for that year to changing to the full pay? Wasn't it only like 5 or 6% raise that people were getting?
I figured it out.
It's 5.7%.
I have that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, if you took our highest paid employee and 2021 would have stayed at the normal rate with the weekends and everything else like that, and figured that out, and then if you would have given him the full time for that year, so paying what we currently do pay now, he only got a 5.7% raise. So then this next year, we would get another 6% raise. And then, so now you're at, in the last 2 years, 11.57% raise, or 10.7% raise. But now with what you guys are getting ready to do, you're gonna drop that down by over 17%. So not only that,
Okay, well-
he's taking a cut
Really what we're
past
doing is.
back
is-
3 years now.
It's taking away that, not taking away, changing that 8 hours of your 48 hours that you're working each week into a different category.
Which is what it was previously before. The category's name is changing, but the
Before it
rate
was
is staying the
$2.50
same.
an hour.
No, it was still
Was it?
minimum wage. That was only the on-call.
On-call.
The on-call. So the weekend on-call thing would change. I get that.
That's your weekend on-call, okay.
But, so that would have to be figured in a little bit. But the guy gets 11% raise over the last 2 years, and now it's gonna get cut in the teens. So he's now going back to
The
the
base
less of a
raise.
wage than he was making in 2020.
The hourly base rate's still going up 6%. He keeps saying cut back, that's with all the overtime.
It's still
stuff he
going
had.
up 6%, but with the on-call rate and everything like that, it is actually getting reduced percentage-wise. Even though the rate went up, the hourly rate is not the same. He's not getting his 27 something an hour. He's getting 17 at one point during the day. So you got to figure out how that comes into his hourly rate, and his average is out for his hourly time. So his average hourly rate is not going to be 27. It's going to be in the low 20s.
If you figure in the trial, you take out the trial, everything went up.
Can I ask a question? So last year,
Mm-hmm.
it went up 5.7, but everybody,
Everybody went up 5.7% with the trial basis, or in that ballpark. This was based off of the highest paid
but the
employee.
county was a 2.5% increase.
Okay, but this was also based with that increase implied into that, so it would have been 2.7% with that 2.7% increase, his account only, or his rate only went up 5.7% with that.
And
So,
then with your 5%, does that also figure in when we also raised our rates? Then all it did was Pokey and Sac just turned around and raised theirs the same, basically. Because I can tell you, I think out of all the departments in here, the one that's jumped the fastest in wages has been EMS.
yeah, it has, but
But
we
we
also
should
have
be
to look,
keep it.
you have to look at the wages though, were they competitive before any of this has jumped up? They weren't. I mean,
So I'm trying to say, you're saying you wanna work 2 days now, at least you're not working on the weekends.
I am
At
working on
$2.50.
Okay, I'm still working on the weekends,
The
but
rotation, if you come around that schedule you put together, to me, that would be great, trying to figure out that schedule in your 2 days and like 4 days. So I kinda figured the same thing, like the
well,
3 days
now
and
if you
5
go
days.
to that 4896 schedule, then you gotta talk to all the employees, cause not every employee is gonna
Yeah.
want that, and I don't even know if Carrie's gonna wanna implement that.
Yeah,
So,
that-
I mean,
that's up to
that's
you
out
guys.
of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
That was just something to propose to see if it was gonna work, and it really doesn't save any money. So, I don't know.
The retention component now transitions to, you're making the decision that there's sleep time pay, 24/7 duty on the weekends, not by rolling back to where it was before, partial rollback. The retention component now is.
Let it speak up, Jack, with this thing
I'm
running.
sorry. The retention component now is to see what someone would have gotten had we not rolled back, and then show them that whatever it comes to, I'm gonna just grab a number. It's $5,000 less than what it could have been under the trial basis. If that causes someone to leave for greener pastures, did we fail in retention? Not necessarily. You have a problem with the budget. I get that. But if it's in retention, we show somebody, well, you would have gotten, I don't know, 55,000 if we didn't change anything. Now you're getting 50,000 if we change it. If they can get 52,000 someplace else, and they'd rather not work here where there is strong leadership and quality support, that's on them. But for the retention component now, if your mind is set, and we're gonna go back to the sleep time, which makes sense for the budget, it's a matter of, do you need to have
But just keep
55
remembering,
here?
sleep time with no on-call time with
Right,
weekends.
no on-call time. I
I
don't
think
know.
everybody
That-
keeps forgetting that,
You know,
that's the biggest cost.
That, I've been here since August 10th, 2010. The progressions we've made with how we get paid and how we get regarded as an essential service, even though we're not known as such. The steps along the way have been huge. Some of those things happened before you were on the board. I don't know how long you guys were on the board. Going to the future, we have made progress. This is a good place to work, and there is a fair wage. Splitting hairs with sleep time, or no overtime, regular pay, or the 48-hour thing we've been trying. We're close and we're in the ballpark. If people leave because of this change, I wish them luck.
I just know that with the change, it'll make it to where me as a paramedic will make just as much as I did as an EMT. So 2 years of school, not worth it.
That's not what
So if it was,
we'll pencil it out.
instead of 50%, sleep time, 75%, you're still opposed to that?
I don't, I mean, so what's 70% of $20 an hour? I mean, I have to figure that in.
Well, 75% of $20 is 15.
I think I roughly figured it one other time,
21,
it was about
20, I believe.
$70,000 a year. But I just thought if essential service
Okay.
thing doesn't pass, maybe we can talk about it in November.
Listen,
Which is better than the average,
I work 2 jobs.
which would be 1766.
I work 5 days a week at Walmart.
Mhm.
I work 8-hour days except for weekends, and those are 9-hour days. I have to take a mandatory 1-hour lunch that I don't get paid for. It takes me 45 minutes to an hour to drive there both and back. So my 9-hour, 10-hour, on the weekends, I got 24 hours away from my family, 12 hours each day. Okay? So, and I'm busting my, it's not the type of work that you guys do, I understand. There are a lot of people who would like to work, it would have the advent, the luxury to work the number of days that you guys work and have time available that you have available for family time, leisure time, decompression time, or even work another job or anything like that. So, yes, we want to get you guys paid the best that you can, but we have to balance that with what we have available to pay. And you understand, even if we shoehorn it in this year, next year there'll be increases too, but we're not going to be getting huge increases of tax dollars coming in. Property taxes and the amount of people who are paying taxes is not increasing in this county. So those are the things that we're working in. Nothing is personal against you guys or any of that type of stuff. And Jack said it quite well, if what we're trying to do doesn't work for someone here, thank you very much for the service that you've been doing. We appreciate what you do. Sorry it couldn't work, but I'm gonna go ahead and make a second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the motion that Scott put up there for half pay.
I'll need the wording of that motion too then, so that I can get it in minutes. If I can just make a copy of it and stop that being fine. Or do you wanna read it again, or?
So I'd like to amend the March 22nd, 2022 EMS department motion by striking out the words on call and replacing it with the word sleep time. Sleep time is a form of on-call that is currently paid at half the employee's regular hourly wage or minimum wage, whichever is higher. Sleep time becomes duty time for the time involved when paged out for 911 or transport calls.
And it's clear that that's 7 days a
Or
week.
standbys.
That's clearly
Or
7 days a
standbys.
week.
Yeah, I didn't put that in there anywhere, but
Time they're called.
also remember, it also says the current right now, so like I said, in November, if things aren't working out,
Yeah,
Did you say
Central thing falls
911s
apart.
or transfers or any work?
Because
Well,
there are,
they get woke up for it.
there are
Well, some-
often times that like, the youth rodeo that we had last week, we were there until 11:30 midnight, so, I mean, it's still duty that we're
Yeah,
working.
it was past 11 o'clock,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's just what.
Phone calls, I mean,
Yep.
there's been times when they were at the hospital, they got called to go move the ambulance because the funeral home had to come in. All of those have been counted as work.
And they should be, because they are working. Anytime
So,
you're, if
so
you're
it needs
supposed
to be
sleeping-
worded as a duty to act, basically.
If you weren't working.
Any,
If you choose to watch the ambulance at 1 o'clock in the morning, that's different.
but
If you
you know,
choose
they go on
to.
call, they have to do run reports, you know.
Yeah, those are all work-related things.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so I
It's
just,
all work related.
but this made it sound like it was just gonna be 911 and,
So Dale, when it says involved or paid job for duty to act, does that sound better than 911 or transport? I just wanted to make sure that they were both listed.
If Gary's okay with it, I'm okay with it.
I think the motion is clear that it's 7 days a week that we're duty with sleep time at night. I
He's
thought there was-
concerned that-
I thought there was a section in the motion that said there was on call for the weekends, the way I read it
No.
last time.
No, there's on call right now, this motion's gone.
No on call.
Okay,
There is no on call. As I said,
okay.
we're gonna absorb that, like I said, I still think it's
I
gonna
wanna
break
make
the
sure there
budget.
wasn't a misunderstanding, it's 24/7 sleep time at night.
It's gonna break the budget less
And
than.
this is
Right.
effective
Still break.
when?
Yeah.
Okay.
August first.
Because Gary, don't give me any crap, because this motion's still gonna go over your deal, but it won't go over as much. So it's still, we'll still need the budget. I know that already, so don't call me up
Part
in
of
6
this
months
has
and
to
say,
do
see,
with
we're
if we
still.
can get this EMS declared and get money from the taxpayers on top of this later on, we can raise the wages, we can raise the checks up there.
Sleep.
I get it.
All time,
We'll keep working together, guys.
but that'll let us know
We're still in
what the
discussion
people really
phase.
want.
We haven't called for a vote. Okay,
Dale.
for the shifts for the weekend, how are those going arranged? Or how will they be
I think it's
arranged?
gonna be 24-hour shifts, what they're talking about now.
Did
Just
you
the
have
same
some
as a
people
Monday and
who-
Tuesday.
I've got people that just wanna work weekends, so they are, some people, depending on who's regular third weekend, we kind of rotate, some people don't do every third, they work 2 days this other, and then they work another one in 6 weeks or something like that, so we rotate those that get off because of the ones that want to work weekends.
And additionally, if someone wanted to pick up occasionally a weekend from your normal shift, would they be allowed to do that?
That's overtime.
I understand.
Well, that's what got us into the problem.
That's what you gotta watch the budget.
I'm just asking.
We got plenty.
We're avoiding
Yeah.
that, we are avoiding that.
They got enough employees, so there shouldn't be a lot of overtime, because I don't hate to cut anybody else's
I've
hours.
got employees
For
now,
somebody else to do it.
not saying we will.
I understand.
Going forward, I will
Understand.
remain 1.0 FTE.
Okay.
So does that have to start as effective date on that?
We just changed the motion, Carl's motion changed to August 1st.
Okay,
It was August 1st.
okay, I'm just making sure.
Okay.
HR wise, have the right to change salaries, et cetera, but you have to give them a time? Is there a specific time?
You must give them, yes, I've got it. Adequate notice, at least 1 payroll period in advance.
So just take care of that on your end.
So it won't be August 1st.
It won't be August 1st, it'll be whenever that.
It would be August 8th, I think, is the payroll. Is that right?
Yeah.
Flip to the calendar. I'm still on the 22nd.
August 5th.
August 5th.
Carrie, can you do
Wait,
that, Christie,
after the
for your
vote.
own thing, because I got my I had the motion in there. I say Carl's motion changed that date, this changed the on-call, my first one, now that other one changed. This get really confusing when we try to say until August 8th, can you just handle it on your side?
Well, but if your motion says something and it's not allowing that pay period, you're leaving yourself open.
Remotion it to August 5th.
Well, we
Or
haven't,
or to the next.
we haven't
pay
voted
period.
on this yet, so
We
we
haven't
can,
voted on
so we
anything
can.
So change it
We
to
can
August.
vote on this part, then we can amend your motion starting August 1st to August 8th.
Okay,
Is it August 8th
And
or
it'll
is
be
it
clear as
August
mud,
5th?
so people's down the road trying to read on this.
Although the August 5th payroll will be for hours through
the end of July.
Then
Why don't we just
July.
vote this down and
July
do it?
29th.
That'll be the hours through, July 30th.
My motion
So-
changes the March 22nd motion. Yours would have to change the
August 1st would,
all right.
the
the
28th
pay
or
for August
29th
1st would
motion.
not be paid out
So we
until
vote on
the
this one,
following,
we'll do another.
Wait.
so that would be when payroll.
That would be fine.
Yeah.
The way it's worded for the first is fine, according to,
Yeah.
my HR expert.
Yes. Did you guys hear that? The hours considered for the August 5th payroll will be through July 29th? Is that what we're looking at?
Through July 30th will be the
July
pay period,
30th.
July 30th.
So any hours worked beginning August 1st will fall into the following payroll.
So then we're okay without changing the date?
So I think we should be okay with the
Okay.
date for that
Okay.
notification.
So this will all take effect August 1st.
Motion on that, we all gonna vote on that, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Now.
So it's all about-
Well, they said it would work.
It should have been.
Oh, it'll fit within a pay period.
Yeah.
Carrie, do we need a,
August
it's not really us, so it should be the advisory group that approves the bylaws then? Do they gotta
The
vote on the changes
advisory
and then bring
group
it
will
back to
approve
us?
the bylaws, and then it will.
Come back for,
I mean, you're part of that group, but it's the advisory group's bylaws. I just wanted to make sure it worked for you guys before I put it back.
now if we can just get that essential service then sold,
Yeah.
get everybody believing in it.
Well, if you get everybody on board with that, that can change your budget again, on what we got to spend on everything.
But to me, the only, for what the advisory board, or the essential service brings up to me, should be over the, I know when this started, we thought it was gonna offset some of our general fund and help us out, but to me, this is hopefully giving you guys a base, and then you guys build over the top with what you ask for. So if we ask for way too much, I don't think people are gonna vote for it myself, so we gotta go up in increments, so we're still giving you the, I know like Pokey's trying to get money for ambulances and equipment, we still have money in here for an ambulance. So let's try to figure out what's the best, and we gotta word it really carefully. Cause our lost money or whatever, what we have as courthouse buildings or something, and equipment or something, and she really limits us on what we can call equipment. Like,
Well-
well, you know that, cause we couldn't buy an ambulance out of that.
Right, but we have the option of also doing, asking for lost funds, and it would be specific and go into that same trust of the EMS.
I don't think it's called lost, it's another, what,
It's a local option sales tax.
like another percent or something on top.
No, it is, you can do up to 75 cents
Cents.
per thousand for property tax, and you can also do a local option.
Yeah, so you can split it between the two,
So you can do both, you can do,
or, yeah, you can do one.
so, whatever you want.
And I think that they're,
Combination of-
yeah, they're trying to pass, I think, a
Their
combination.
combination of
both
one of
those.
those Pokey is the one I see that's
Yeah,
fair so far.
and which makes sense, because you have people that don't live in the county that use the service.
Yeah.
That's the only,
That's bad
that's a
part
good
about
thing about
property
it.
tax.
Unfortunately, a lot of the people that use the ambulance services are not property taxpayers, so, so the sales option does that. But then it also, that, in a way, penalizes our local business people, if there's not that many in there. Opposed to somebody else, but it's the fairest way.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that they're trying to get like the 1% up there, he said like, trying to get $60,000, what they thought that they could raise on that, up in Pokey. They're gonna try to get 21 cents out of the 75 cents is what they're gonna try to. Like I said, I totally agree with James, if the voters vote for this, you know, what these other two feel like, but if they vote for it, if they want an ambulance in every town, including Yetter, and if they can pay for it, I'll have to vote for it, so, cause that's what the taxpayers wanted.
You won't be able to afford.
I don't care, but that's what I'm just
There's
saying,
not enough money for that.
if they vote for it on that, so,
But that's what your EMS advisory, we need to meet,
Put
to
together.
see what plans we have and options and the costs, so we can get to that to people. If you want this, this is what we want.
And we
That's a
don't
big
have a
flag.
lot
That
of
is a big.
Not got a lot of time to
carrying
get it on
to
the
get
ballot, so it's really gotta get it
Work.
educated to
Yeah,
get them
it's
guys
gonna
knowing.
I think by the end of August at the very latest. Okay,
We at least have to have the wording, right?
yes,
Then we still gotta keep selling it.
Yeah, sell it,
Yep.
make sure that people know what it is that they're voting on out there.
Find, people who've used your service who are, like, that Mr.
Marvin
Webker that was here that
Webker
day.
was one.
I mean, he wasn't
Or not Marvin.
really articulate when he was saying that, but it was written down and picture of him and at the bottom he said, vote for.
When he said he
Those
gives $1
type of
more per thousand property taxes,
testimonials would be very
but we
good.
can't do that.
Anything else you need?
Just this is a very, very difficult decision that we've made, and please let everyone know that works for you, Carrie, that we appreciate what they do, and please stay with us, and
Yeah, we wanna change it, if we
we're
can do
trying,
something better down the road.
we're trying to stay so that, you know, if we completely broke it, we'd lose a lot more people, because then we'd have to cut services and cut your jobs and stuff like that,
So
so.
if you would've gone back to the on-call on the
You go
weekend.
to on-call,
Yeah,
that's not
you
gonna
would've lost
happen
2/3
today.
of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we understand. Very, I know for a per individual sitting there, it's very difficult to take this in. It's very difficult to make the decision on this side, because it affects each and every one of your guys' lives and the lives of the people of the county.
Cause I don't know how it went if we end up capping both crews up there, we'd almost have to do like Pocahontas did with the 12-12. But you guys all drive in, so 12 hours on call doesn't work.
Oh, they wouldn't do, they wouldn't come in for call
They wouldn't do that.
I don't understand how,
Doesn't pay.
unless you live there, like up there, how they do that, or Carol, if Luke goes down there or something. for
They have people that live in.
The 24-hour on call the next day. Oh wait, hell, what would you do sitting in Carroll for 24 hours?
Try 12.
On call, I mean,
Go to Walmart.
you have to be there within like.
You go to Walmart, you got a
It sounds
job there.
It's
Sounds
just
like they're
kinda-
having trouble with that too, though.
I put myself, like, and you guys, I wouldn't wanna do that either, so, thanks for you guys that did
Yeah, I
that for on the
appreciate it.
weekends
We
for that long.
appreciate it.
I live in Rockwell City, and if we did 12 and 12 on call, I would quit. So, and I live here.
It's just, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.